I think Mary Todd Lincoln is remembered as a first lady of complete tragedy.
She was born Mary Todd in Lexington, Kentucky on December 13, 1818. Her life in a large, wealthy family was comfortable but lonely.
Unfortunately, her mother passed away when she was 6 years old, and her father quickly got remarried, and Mary did not have a great relationship with her stepmother.
She focused very intently on her studies. She pursued education and she read the newspapers, and she began to develop what people called a masculine mind.
Mary Todd left home in 1839 to live with her sister in Springfield, Illinois. It wasn't long before she met a young lawyer named Abraham Lincoln. It was an unlikely romance.
First of all, physically, they made an odd pair. Mary was a little bit plump and rather short, and Lincoln was very tall and very thin.
There wasn't a lot of love for Abraham Lincoln in the Todd family because they really felt like he came from nothing.
Mary Todd and Abraham Lincoln were married in November of 1842.
And it was the first time that Mary Todd Lincoln really realized what it was like to have hardship. So she sort of stood by her man, if you will, but in a sense felt a tremendous isolation from her family.
This isolation increased for Mary when Abraham Lincoln claimed the White House in 1860.
And in the case of Mary Lincoln, you had her as a member of the Southern aristocracy, married to the Union president who was leading the nation into civil war. So without even doing or saying anything, the odds were stacked against her.
She just felt this constant lack of support by the Washington socialites who were just abhorred that these Midwesterners have taken over the White House.
As the Civil War raged on, Mary Lincoln's actions in the White House further angered her critics.
She spent an enormous sum of money for the time on redecorating the White House. She also spent a huge amount on her clothes, but it did alienate her from people in Washington and, of course, from common people who were suffering from the war.
On February 20th, 1862, Mary lost her son to typhoid fever.
When Mrs. Lincoln lost her son Willie, there was a very bitter, sarcastic, rather than supportive reaction through most of the North of the Union, which was sort of this attitude of, well, at least you had the comfort of seeing your son die.
On April 14th, 1865, Abraham Lincoln was assassinated at the Ford's Theater. Mary sat next to him.
After Lincoln's assassination, her mental state overall started to decline, and it was even after that point that she was institutionalized, that she actually tried to commit suicide twice.
Somebody once said at the time of her death that in many ways she really had died in that theater beside her husband.
Mary Todd Lincoln spent her final years in Springfield, Illinois with her sister. She died on July 16, 1882, at the age of 63.